This is a training video for the Swisher High Temp Under the Counter Mini Water Softener, which is a standard unit that will be used in warewash applications. It's made to fit under a counter. The total size of the unit in terms of height is 27 inches on the control valve, but if you want to hard plumb this in and remove the cover, you're going to need around 31 inches. The brine tank is 18 inches in diameter. Now when you unpack the components, what you're going to find is a control valve already screwed onto the mineral tank, which we'll have to remove in order to fill it with resin. You're going to have a brine tank, 3/4 inch bypass valve, a drain connector. These are fittings for the brine line, funnel to fill the tank, the instructions, and a 1/2 cubic foot of water softening resin. Now the first step in setting up the water softener for the installation is you're going to have to fill the resin tank with the water softening resin. You're going to take the control valve and you're going to screw it off of the tank. And when it comes up, there will be a distributor tube. Okay? This fits inside the tank and is centered. Now in order to put the resin inside the tank, you're going to want to put a piece of tape or something on top of the distributor tube so resin doesn't go down the tank. Once you have that tape on there, you'll put the funnel in, and then you'll basically take the contents of the water softening resin bag, which is a 1/2 cubic foot, and you can pour it or scoop it into the tank until it's all filled up. Once that is completed, you're going to make sure that the riser pipe is centered. You're going to remove the tape from the top of the riser pipe, and then you're going to put the control valve back onto the riser pipe where it will go up into the center of the control valve. And then carefully screw the control valve back onto the tank, making sure that you don't start it on a cross thread. And you want to tighten it, hand tightened, snugly, like that. Let's discuss the connections you're going to have to make in order to hook up the High Temp Mini Water Softening Unit. First thing you're going to do is you're going to loosen the two clamps here on the side, and you're going to put on the bypass valve. This has your inlet connection on the left hand side, your outlet on the right hand side. When the valve is in this position, or the handle, it is in bypass, and when it's that position, it's in service. This allows you to put it in bypass and disconnect the unit completely, still having water to your warewasher. You're going to put that on like that, and then you're going to go ahead and tighten the clamps with a flathead screwdriver until it's tight. Now the other connection you're going to make is the drain line. This is a 1/2 inch connection, and already installed comes with the unit installed is a flow controller, a little rubber disc that basically regulates the amount of water, and it's held in place by a fitting here. Like I said, this is already going to be installed when you get the unit. What you will have to do is go ahead and hook up the brine line, or excuse me, the drain line, using a 1/2 inch fitting. This is a nylon fitting. It should be fine for the hot water, or you can use CPVC, however you want to go to the drain. But this is a 1/2 inch hose bar fitting. All you need is Teflon tape. This fitting is not under pressure. And whatever hose that you attach to this to go to the drain needs to be high temp tolerant so it doesn't melt or close up on you. Lastly, the other connection you're going to make is the brine line connection. And this is a standard 3/8 inch fitting. You're going to have the fittings and the tubing to go to the brine line. 3/8 inch, where you're going to have the nut, the little collar there. This is a stiffener that's used. And last but not least, this is just a screen to make sure that no dirt or trash from the brine tank gets sucked into the unit. And that's a 3/8 inch connection, and you're going to just tighten that till it's nice and tight and secure. It has to be a tight fitting in order to draw salt water from the brine tank. And the other end of the unit will be hooked up to the similar fitting on the brine tank. Now once you made the inlet, the outlet, the drain line connection, and the brine line connection, the unit is ready to go ahead and be put into service. A word about the brine tank. Take the lid off. Here is your connection for your line that comes from the water softener. And inside the brine tank, it's just standard tank where the salt goes in so you can make salt water. You have a brine well. And this brine well holds inside of it, and this already comes assembled, a safety float. Safety float is basically what it is. if there's too much water going into the brine tank because of issues with taking water out, there's a float that activates that doesn't allow any more water to be put in the brine tank to keep it from overflowing. Now if it overflowed in a dish machine application, it's probably just going down the drain line. But all of these units come with a safety float. Now the unit is now plumbed in. We're going to go ahead and set up the control valve. Now this is a 5-cycle valve. It is time initiated, meaning that it keeps track of time and it will regenerate every so many days based on the settings. Now right here with the control valve in this position, it's in service, meaning that the water is actually being softened. When it enters a regeneration cycle, it'll go through a backwash cycle where water is backwashed to the unit to the drain. That's about a 15-minute cycle. It'll go through a brine rinse cycle. During this cycle, salt water is taken out of the brine tank and flushed through the unit. That's about a 40-minute cycle. The rapid rinse, another 10-minute cycle, which just gets rid of any excess salt out of the tank. Brine refill. So last cycle before service, it adds water back into the salt tank so you can dissolve salt water for the next regeneration. And then finally back into service. Takes about 60 to 70 minutes to complete a full cycle. Now down here you have a time of day. This just needs to be set to the correct time of day. You push in the red button and turn the big gear till the correct time of day appears in the window. And that means that as long as the time of day is correct here, this unit's going to backwash at 2 o'clock in the morning when no one's using the water. And then the last thing we're going to have to do is set how often the unit regenerates. If you, through your calculations, if you find that you want to regenerate this unit every night, you're going to have every one of these metal pins pushed to the outside. So when it turns on a daily basis, it'll engage the control valve. Now if you want this to be regenerated every other day, you're just going to push every other pin out. It doesn't matter where you start, they're all in. Push one out, 2 over, out. 2 over, out, 2 over, out. Every 3 days, every third pin will be out. Every 4 days, every 4th pin. In most wash applications, this unit here will have a rough capacity of about 1,200 gallons if the water is 10 grains hard. So you're going to do an estimation of how long it will take for the unit to use 1,200 gallons. If it's 2 days, then you just set it up to regenerate every 2 days, and as long as the right time of day is on the meter, every second night, this unit will regenerate at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, so you're familiar with the back of the control valve. This is your timer motor. It's held in by these 2 little wire nuts here, how it's connected. If you ever have to replace a timer motor, undo the 2 screws, put in a new timer motor, reconnect the wire nuts. This is your piston, which basically runs up and down through the center of the valve when it goes through the regeneration cycles. And that's a full cycle. And this here is this wheel here is a brine wheel, which determines when the brine valve is pushed down during brine draw and during your brine refill. This is your salt setting. And if you look, this comes standard set at 6 pounds of salt on this unit, which is correct for this size of unit, that every time it regenerates, it's going to use 6 pounds of salt. So verify that it does say 6 pounds of salt. Initial startup of the unit, this is when you're going to allow water to run through the unit. You want to have the unit unplugged. You're going to have it in a bypass mode, and what you're going to do is take the control valve and put it into a backwash position. Once it's in a backwash position, you're going to slowly open up the bypass valve to allow water to enter the tank. It's going to enter from the bottom and up, and you're going to allow water to run and let the air escape out of the drain line. Once the water starts running to the drain, it's going to be initially red. That'll occur for maybe less than 30 seconds, and then it'll clear up. Once it clears up, you can put the unit in full service, bring it all the way around to a rapid rinse mode to allow it to flush for a couple minutes, and put it back into service. At this point, the unit can be plugged in and it is ready for operation.